And we continue with our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon with JMU men's basketball coach Matt Brady as the Dukes eat 11-9 now and 4-2, tied for third place in the Colonial Athletic Association. A perfect week for the Dukes in the win column, beating Drexel on the road 54-35, only the second time in the program's history the Dukes have won at the Dask-Alaska Center. And then facing a newcomer to the CAA, the Phoenix of Elon, 75-72, and only the second meeting between those two programs. You have to go back to 1975 when Sherman Dillard pumped in 40 points against the Phoenix the last time these two teams played. So Coach Matt Brady now joins us. What is the Brady recap on the last couple of ball games?
Well, we're obviously pleased to come out with 2 wins. The Drexel game was a combination of, I thought, really good defense. I thought we were prepared to play a very difficult opponent in a very difficult environment. And I thought that they missed a lot of shots, and I thought for the most part, when they started missing shots, they became very uncertain of themselves. They kept shooting perimeter jump shots, but they didn't make many. So, we were glad to come out of there with a win. It's a difficult place to win. And I do think there are times that can happen to you versus zone. When you have shots, you feel like you're comfortable, but you just can't make a shot, and that can snowball. And I think it did in that game. And then this last game against Elon, I thought there were times at the end of the first half we had a chance to get a bigger lead, and we didn't. And then obviously at the end of the second half, at the end of the game, we're up 10, and we had a myriad of mistakes. We fouled a three-point shooter. We missed a number of free throws. We turned it over a couple times, gave the ball back to him with 7.5 seconds to go. But we really felt like we should have handled the end of the game situations better than we did. But certainly glad to come out with a win.
In the Drexel game, you got behind 9-0 early in that game, and it took a little while for you to break the seal on the cylinder yourself. What was the psyche of the team when you came out of into that first timeout? I felt like it's early in the game. Can you get through it? Can you grind through and get your game back to you? How did you feel about it at that point?
Well, you know what? Been there, done that. We've been in that building enough to know that, if you can just make a few baskets and get the nerves out, that we can be in this game at halftime. We've scored 17. That's the third time in 5 years I think we've had 17 or 16 and a half. And it's always been a few possession game. It hasn't been a blowout at halftime. Really, the fact of the matter is we had to stop turning the ball over. At the end of the first media timeout, under 16 to play, we hadn't taken a shot yet. So how about we take a shot at some point at the rim and see if the ball can just find its way through to the net. And then I thought we did that. I thought we started taking some shots at the rim and made a few shots. And obviously, I thought our first shot defense was good. And, the tables got turned. They felt like we did to start the game, and I thought they got really frustrated by the end of the first half. And I thought in the second half we continued to do what we did, which was limit penetration, limit Damian Lee, and make the other guys beat us from inside the foul line area. Not always easy to do. We've had a lot of opponents that have not been able to make that high post jump shot. And I thought Elon struggled with it, and I thought William Mary struggled with it down there. We just, when we can take away the rim and the three-point shots, then our defense has been pretty good.
How do you think you defended off the glass after first shots against Drexel? Because it took them quite some time before they got their first offensive rebound.
Well, knowing Bruiser as well as I know him, I know what he's saying to them in timeouts, and he's challenging them to go out tough teams, out tough JMU. The ball's there to get, to be had. You got to go get the ball, and he's probably saying it with a few other words that I can't repeat. So he challenges them, and they came out and they went really hard after the ball. I think all in all, I still felt like off the glass we did what we needed to do against Drexel. I thought we gave up too many second shots against Elon, but a number of those were long shots, and we didn't come up with them. So it's something we continue to work on. We talk about, and for us to make another jump, we've got to come up with those long rebounds now, not just the balls at the rim.
Yohani had a good week scoring the basketball. Did very well at Drexel. I thought he was one of the more consistent, strong finishers, which is something you've been looking for. Is there a concern that somebody like Yohani that's really trying to improve, that sometimes he doesn't let the game come to him, he does a little bit too much, and maybe that could have been some of the issues with Saturday's game?
Well, you know what? I have a lot of confidence in Yohani. He's got a lot of pride as a basketball player, and he knows what he can do. He's still a work in progress. He's still raw in some aspects to his game, and I'm really going to be excited about his development as a player because I keep talking about adding to his game. There's so many things he can add, and he's really a one-way guy. If he dribbles to his right, he's dribbling all the way to his right, and he's had some charges in that respect. If he dribbles to his left, at some point he's going to be able to come to I call it a quick stop and a quick pivot, and really be able to kind of go around guys. He's starting to add a little bit of that quick stop now, but it takes a long time to get good at it. And when he gets good at it, he's going to be a really good player. And I think he's obviously our most consistent scorer. We need him to score. If you told me that a year ago, I would have said there's no way we're relying on him to have a winning record, at this point in the juncture, but that's the case.
Winston Gray's got off to a he played Virginia. That was kind of a hard indoctrination there, but then he came back and played well and gave you some pretty good minutes. He seems to be gaining a lot more confidence and playing with a high level of energy. I've enjoyed watching him get out there the last several games.
Yeah, he's been really good. He's been everything we'd hoped he would be. I've said to him many times, I think he needs to get in the gym and shoot more. I'd like his three-point percentage, to be up a little higher. But he has been a very willing rebounder. He's been a very willing and I think solid defender. He's learning what you have to do at this level. That if you make mistakes on defense, if you turn your back to the ball, if you don't help on dribble penetration, we're going to have baskets. So he's been a good student of the game. The things we're trying to get him to do for us. And I still think he's a guy he's a very willing big shot taker. And historically, the guys that are 2-year players that come into a 4-year situation, their second year is always noticeably better. And but I think he's gotten better, in the last month or so. And I hope that he continues to feel more and more comfortable for us.
He's shooting 34.8%, 23 of 66 on three-pointers. What do you want to see him at this stage?
Well, I think at this point we're going to need him to average 11 or 12 points a game going forward. With our reduced perimeter situation, we'd like him to be a guy that can, and he can. He's eager to have that role. Now he's got to go out and make the shots, that he gets. And I thought he made one here in the last game that kind of got us going. And we've got to find him like we've got to find Jackson on the perimeter. But he's certainly a guy that can average 12 points a game. He's averaging 9 now. But when he's played well, he's been in the teens. That's a big deal for a team like ours when we have a lot of young players running around out there. So if he can get to the teens, that's a big deal. And if he can up his percentage from three-point range, that would be significant.
All right, let's turn it over to other members of the media. We're with JMU men's basketball coach Matt Brady. Our weekly Fan and Press Luncheon. We're here every Monday during the college basketball seasons with Coach Brady as well as Coach Kenny Brooks here at O'Neill's Grill. Gentlemen.
Hey, Matt, after that Valparaiso game, you said you were looking for more leadership from your team. I feel like we've gone through like 3 different seasons since that point.
Yeah.
Have you got an answer to that question?
Yeah, I think right now it's collective. As at that point in time, there was none. There was no positive leadership for a variety of reasons. And I would say to you now, in the last week or so, there's been a collective assertion of leadership. And it comes in small ways, but there's no small thing when you're talking about leadership in the locker room and on the bus and the pregame meals and the walkthroughs and practice. I think everybody has really tried to use their voice, and the body language, I think, has been terrifically positive. Tom Vodanovich, Ron Kerry, Winston Grays, their voices we need here are now consistent every day. And I think that's going to continue to come to the forefront. And I'm excited about that because I think you need that. So we'll see if more voices come, but I can tell you that there's an all-in mentality now that did not exist 2 weeks ago.
After your last game, you said there's been more voices in the locker room. You just said that now. Is there a powerful voice? I mean, who's doing the most talking?
Well, yeah, I think the guy that I hear more now is Tom Vodanovich, and he's been left behind, early in the year in December at Ball State, and he's come back, and I think he recognized, hey, this is a neat thing to be involved with my teammates, especially when you win, and I think his voice in the locker room and on the court has been significant. And I think he's still feeling his way as a college basketball player, but I do think that everyone's becoming more comfortable using their voice. That's a very powerful thing, especially when you have a young team. And it's been very positive. There's been almost no negative. And I think, that bodes very well for our immediate future, I think for the future of our team.
You talk about Tommy had a very nice game on Saturday. He did have that one play where he got blocked by the rim trying to dunk it. What was the reaction you guys got in the film room on that one?
We haven't talked about it yet, Nick, but that's not – I talk about missed dunks every day in practice because that happens in practice. And we talk about it. So Tom immediately looked over the bench with this sheepish grin on his face, like, yeah, now I screwed up. And you talk about those things. I talk about. There's a lot of things we talk about every day in practice. And when you say that play with Tom, there's 5 plays where that play with Tom. He fed the post right out of bounds in the second half. That was that play to me too that I talk about every day with Tom as well. So when he threw the ball out of bounds, he looked right at me and pointed at me, and he did one of those things. Like, yeah, that's what I've been talking about with you every day since you've been here. That post feed was awful. And there was a few other plays that Tom was involved in. But there's a recognition now, and you get that through experience. You get it by being on the court. And, there's some humility in those plays, but it's certainly positive when you can win the game and make those mistakes and hopefully not make them in the next game.
Mm-hmm. Is Hari Hall back for practice?
Yeah,
he'll
be he's in the convo now.
Okay, and I haven't really talked to you about your freshman in a while. Joey McLean had that one stretch Saturday. I think he scored 6 points in 5 seconds, something like that. But like the story's been all year, haven't got too much consistency from either him or Hari. Are you looking for more from those guys now?
Yeah, and we're looking for more consistency from everybody. But Joey and Hari are significant contributors. Now they're coming off the bench. We all see what they're capable of doing from time to time. Hardest thing for a freshman is to be consistent, and they have found that to be the case, but they've also been eager learners. They recognize that this isn't high school. This wasn't playing against the team from down the street. This is hard. There's a book on you, and teams are taking away your strengths. And in the case of Hari, when you go to dunk the ball, you're going to get blocked if you don't make a smart play. And that's happened to him enough times that he's starting to be a little bit more humbled by the level of play at at college basketball.
Would you say Joey's biggest struggles have just been stupid fouls and just bad shot selection?
That's part of it. Yep, that's part of it.
Sure.
I think 100% effort on every play. That's a lot with a lot of freshmen, and we're not talking about effort, energy, and toughness with our sophomores even. We don't talk about Paulius, and we're not talking about Yohani's energy because he's giving you everything he can. But a year ago, we were talking about the exact same thing. So, freshmen have to go through this learning curve about how hard you got to play. And I think when Joey has played hard, he's played well. And when he's not played hard, he's looked like, a fish out of water. And the same thing with Hart.
Sure. Thanks, man.
Coach, it's kind of felt like all season you've been just waiting for Ron Curry to take over offensively. And it's just really not happening. Do you think it's going to happen? And what are you saying to him to try to get him to just start pulling the trigger a few times and drive to the net a few more times?
Well, I'm certainly hopeful and optimistic. He's shown he can do it, and now he's got to go out and do it. He's got the position on this team. He's got, he's the lone returning junior on this team that started every game last year. There's no encumbrances to him leading our team. He's just got to be more productive, and I think part of him is really frustrated. He would say, I'm not certain where my shots are coming from. And you know what, you're a point guard. I can't tell you where your shots are coming from game to game. But he's had a number of opportunities to get going in the first half and has missed some opportunities. So I think when we go to Northeastern, he's going to have opportunities to get us going. He's going to have to make some shots and make plays. When he gets in the lane, he's got to make the play. The play isn't necessarily to score. It can be the pass. It can be the pass that leads to the next pass. It can be a deflection. It can be a long rebound that leads to a layup. Make your free throws. That point guard play is instrumental to having an improving team, and he needs to be more consistent.
And going back to Saturday night, there was a stretch there where Elon seemed to take every shot was from about 18 or 20 feet. That probably made you really smile with that zone defense. And, we talked on Friday, and you just said teams are going to have to hit mid-range jumpers.
Yeah.
Is there a team that really scares you right now in the CAA that's going to hit the mid-range jumper that you think could really break that zone? Yeah,
we play Northeastern on Thursday. They really scare me right now. So I think everybody can. It's just not a shot that you practice every day. In fact, I would say to you, throughout college basketball, it's a lost shot. Mid-range jump shooting is it's almost a dinosaur. I can't almost explain it, but Winston Grays, I think, is a good pull-up jump shooter. Not a lot of teams that have a pull-up jump shooter, and it's just not what you practice every day. You practice getting to the rim, you practice your back to the basket stuff, you practice jump shooting, you practice drive and kick for a three. A lot of teams don't practice the high post jump shot. And so from that perspective, we've been somewhat fortunate. When you prepare for us, you recognize that shot's going to be available. And, we have to guard a little bit better, certainly, and we're working on that. We just had a long conversation about guarding that high post area better than we have. But if you had to tell me, guard the rim or guard the three or guard the high post, if I'm going to guard one of the three, I'm going to guard the rim and the three. And we've guarded both those shots pretty well, except for the beginning of that Drexel game, I'd say not very well. And then we got to rebound the ball.
Jackson Kent still struggling beyond the arc, but Saturday night he at least put the ball on the floor, began to drive, made some moves, pivot. Are you pleased to see that he's at least initiating another level of his game?
Yeah, I said this to Jackson's father and mother right after the game. I have a lot of confidence Jackson will get better all the time. He is really interested in becoming the best player he can become. He knows what a valuable piece to our team he is. Jackson's going to keep getting better. And I don't really have any worries about Jackson on a long-term basis, but you see that he can have a great half and not a great half. And is that related to scouting or teams getting physical with him? I'm not really sure. He's a kid who can make shots. We need him to make shots, and I think when we go to Northeastern, I always feel like Jackson's going to have a good game. I haven't gone into a game yet this year where I've said Jackson's going to struggle. The truth of the matter is I probably thought he was going to struggle against Ohio State. It's the only game I thought he would really struggle in. But every game I go into this with a blank canvas for Jackson. He's worked so hard. He can make shots. He takes pride in making shots. His teammates trust him. The coaching staff trust him. I think he's going to play well on Thursday.
The last two games, you've been more aggressive getting to the glass. You may not get every ball, but at least you're getting three guys there, keeping balls alive. Would you say that has a lot to do with the two-game win streak?
Well, I think, yeah, I do. I think it's related to the players that are in the game are anxious to do what they're asked to do. We know we've got to send three guys to the glass. Winston Grays has had a couple of big rebounds in the last couple games. So Winston going to the glass is a big deal. Jackson getting a long rebound. Ron Curry getting the long rebounds. They add up. Those possessions in a league like this, extra possessions are critical, and we've gotten a few. We need to continue to get more. Tom Adamovich has done a good job. Paul Yasakis has done a good job. We'd like to get a couple more offensive rebounds from Yohani. But our forwards and our small forwards have got to get extra possessions for us.
Coach, last time you faced Northeastern, it was at home, a 65-59 loss. What do you have to do differently this go-round to be on the other side of that score?
Well, I think in the last three times we've gone up to Boston, we've played in close games, and I thought the last game they got us with their experience and their toughness in the middle 10 minutes of the second half. We've just got to go up there with the mindset that we have to fight through adversity and grind for 40 minutes. They've got a good team. We've beaten them up there. We've lost in close games. I think this game's going to be close. We've got to continue to do the things we're trying to get better at, and then we're going to have to make some shots too.
Unless you follow the CA, you probably don't realize how good Hofstra is this year, as they've been putting up a lot of points. What's been the biggest difference for Hofstra this year, considering you're going to go play them on Saturday coming up next? Yeah,
well, they have 3 4-year transfers. They're all averaging double figures, and they can all shoot the ball. Wanye Green, Amin Tanksley, and Brian Bernardi, 3 4-year transfers that sat last year out that have played college basketball. So it's not as if they're adding freshmen. They're adding 2 juniors that are in their 4th year of college. In the case of Brian Bernardi, he's in his 3rd year of college as a sophomore. They're all shot makers. They're all tough kids. They're all good players. And they've all been really consistent this year. They play really fast. They shoot really fast. It's one of the leading three-point shooting teams in the country. And in their last loss at home to Wilmington, they were 6 for 19 from 3, a season low attempts and makes. So I don't know if we're going to hold them to a season low in attempts, but if we can hold them to 6 made threes, that would be a huge part to getting this win.
I do realize that you and Joe Mahalik pretty good friends, so you keep up with one another. Is this team where he thought it would be? Is he surprised at how quickly they've assimilated?
Yeah, I don't know that he's surprised. He would tell you he's surprised, but I don't think that he is. I think the thing that they're pleasantly surprised in was Amin Tanksley's ability to put the ball in from long range for the percentage that he's putting in. He's He's a kid who averaged 9 points a game or 10 points a game in the MAC at Niagara, and now he's averaging 18 or 19 as a junior and making he's making over 40% from three. That has been the guy that stepped up for them, that's made them the clear #1 seed in our league so far. Yeah, he's been the difference.
All right, the Dukes on the road at Northeastern, a 7 o'clock tip-off there at Matthews Arena. Bring your woolly socks because you'll be playing on the ice there. And then the Dukes will travel to Hempstead, New York, and face the Pride of Hofstra. Dukes and the Pride currently tied for third place in the CA, along with UNCW. Northeastern, by the way, tied for first with William & Mary at 5-1 in the conference. That game on Saturday is at 4 o'clock. Then the Dukes will be back home to start a nice home run, beginning with the Delaware Blue Hens a week from Wednesday. Thank you for joining us this week here at O'Neill's Grill for our weekly fan and press luncheon.